know when you've known someone a long time and you just want to kiss them just to see if they're a good kisser or not?
There's nothing wrong with that, right? Stay.
I feel nauseous.
Well, it's not funny. Can you help me?
No. She's not coming near me.
What's your
problem?
You guys gonna kill each other now?
You don't look so hot.
Help me. I need a doctor.
I don't want to get sick. I don't want any of us getting sick.
We just don't want to get it.
I say we get out of here right now.
He's coming towards us.
All right, back off.
He looked like he was skinned alive.
The party man.
Is it safe?
Don't worry, I'm healthy.
Leave us alone!
Somebody help! I'm burning!
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Guys, I'm really excited because I noticed today in work, I think this is our last podcast before actual Halloween. And I think over the last few years doing this podcast with you guys has made me grown to love this holiday more. And I am looking forward to our normal annual Christmas party. But yeah, I don't know. Has doing this thing, we do here in the podcast, enhanced what you usually would do during October? Is it better to talk to somebody than just watch the movies? I don't know. I just want to see your perspective because you've been loving this month a lot longer than I have.
Mark's asking us about this thing of ours.
He's not a part of it. No, I think I've had such a deep love for horror movies and Halloween my whole life that it's always fun to talk to friends about movies, regardless of what genre they are. But yeah, any chance I get to watch a horror movie and talk about it is always one of my favorite things to do. So this is always a nice thing that we get to do once a year.
Yeah, I think it's always fun watching horror movies, an excuse to watch horror movies. I think this whole podcast is basically an excuse for us to watch movies in general. So, and usually they're shitty, but at least in October they're horror movies, I guess.
Yeah. I guess the roundabout way is just I guess an appreciation and thanks to you guys for opening my eyes to more movies than I probably would have never seen before in this genre, since it's nowhere near my favorite.
This is our cross to bear.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole point of this podcast is for not only us to watch movies that we would never normally watch, but for the listener to also think about, I would never have thought about watching Frankenhooker. I'll go check it out. Or Blood Rage. I never would have thought of I've never seen Blood Rage before starting this podcast. So yeah, I think if we can get one person to expand their palette movie-wise, I think that's a huge win for us.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, that's the goal. I just noticed that I was looking through because I watched this on the Roku channel today. This movie. And just saw a couple horror movies on there. I was like, I got a little time. Maybe I could watch this. And I'm like, no, I'm it's gonna run over time. But
Yeah.
it's got me. It gives doing this is giving me the itch to watch a genre I would have never done before. And of all the other genres we do, I'm more likely to have run into those movies than the things we watch in October.
Okay.
So you have converted one person, just to
Cool.
let you know, Dan.
Oh, we did it. I think we could end the podcast now, really.
Yep, that's it, guys. We watched this movie for no reason, so we're gonna call it right now.
It's just to get Mark to watch it.
Yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Last week in October went out as we should have, with a horror movie
Yes.
done by someone that probably had no right to do a horror movie at this point.
I think what's great about horror movies is anyone could really enjoy a horror movie. I think with certain dramas and comedies, especially dramas, I think you get a lot of like snooty people or film buffs, this and that. But if you put on a schlocky horror movie, it's just, you can kind of turn your brain off. Like we're gonna watch Cabin Fever. Leave your expectations at the door. No one is expecting it to be a Killers of the Flower Moon. So that's what's beautiful about horror.
God, if this movie was 3.5 hours, you would be doing this podcast alone.
Yeah.
That's real cinema.
Right. I just think it's very interesting now. I think horror is that really, at least for me, and I would assume for Anthony as well, but I don't want to put words in his mouth, that horror can really bend where you can have a shitty horror movie that is still a lot of fun, but you could also have a horror movie like The Witch or Hereditary, which is just a phenomenal movie as well. And I struggle to find that in a lot of genres.
Yeah, I mean, a bad drama is just a bad movie. A bad comedy is not funny, so it shouldn't be enjoyable.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess sci-fi is probably in there, but it's, genres themselves, I think, kind of lend themselves to kind of allow even the schlocky to be entertaining.
I agree. Yeah, it's great. I love The Holiday. I love the movies. Probably, and real quick before we get into the episode, I had my first taste. I haven't said this on the podcast yet, but I'll say it now. I had my first taste of what fatherhood is going to be like. So if you're listening to this, I am going to be a dad soon-ish. And
What?
whoa, this is the worst time to find out, right?
What a weird way to tell us.
Sorry, guys.
Come on, Dan.
This is our thing, though. So if anything, it'd be the best way to tell you guys. But yeah, I had my...
No. The best way to tell us real tangent fast would have been just bringing the baby on the podcast without telling us.
That would be incredible if I could hide it for 9 months.
No, everybody knows the best way to tell your friends that you talk to every day is to post it on Facebook and not mention it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's, only one person's going to get that. But yeah, I had my first taste of what fatherhood is going to be like. The other night, my sister has flown up from Florida for the holiday, and she had never seen John Carpenter's The Thing. I was like, oh, we got to watch it. We got to watch this. So as we're watching it, I was very excited to see how she would react to certain parts of the film that I loved. And seeing her reactions, it made me very happy. But then at the end of the movie, where it's just Keith David and Kurt Russell's characters alive, and it just ends, my sister goes, "That's it? That's dumb." And that unbridled rage that came over me, like, what do you mean it's dumb? How is it dumb? It's amazing. But like, who's the thing? That's the point. It could be one of them. It could be none of them. That's the whole part of it. So I got a taste of, this is going to be so much fun to see them watch or listen or view things that I love. But it's also going to be infuriating to answer their questions when they don't like something that I love.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
But hopefully I can contain myself and not just tear the soul out of my child at an early age.
Yeah, don't envy you at all.
My dad's such a dick. He got mad when I said I didn't like Jaws.
Well, hopefully they don't turn into my wife and they'll just say, "Oh, that movie's from 2002. That's so old."
Ooh, yeah, that's rough.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, geez. I totally understand how people could feel that way because that's just how the human condition is, right? It's we look down on older things for the most part, but I can't. I get so annoyed when I hear that. Oh, a movie from the 70s or a movie from the 80s. Ugh, that must be bad because it's old. Ugh, it's frustrating.
Yeah. But anyway, this week is, as Mark mentioned, the last episode of the month, which means it's October movie of the month. And if you listened to last week's episode, you know that we put a whole bunch of movies on a wheel, we spun it, and one movie came out on top. And this was actually Dan's pick that he put on the wheel. So, Dan, why don't you introduce this year's October horror movie of the month?
I would be glad to do so, sir. So my choice, one of my choices for the wheel was the 2002 Eli Roth movie, Cabin Fever. And I put this on there because I had a little history with this movie. I've seen it a few times. I'm sad to say that this movie was my jam. My 14-year-old self quite enjoyed this movie because it was very schlocky and there's boobs in it and just stupidity ran roughshod in this movie. And to 14-year-old Dan, that's all it took to make a good movie. So I wanted to revisit it on the podcast because this movie is just, it's begging to be taken to task. And who better than us to do so?
Sure. Okay, Mark, where are you coming from? Cabin Fever.
So I remember seeing this when it first came out, and I remembered why immediately when I looked at the cast, and it was because one Ryder Strong is in this movie, and being a Boy Meets World fan, I thought I'd check it out, and I realized why I forgot that I really saw this movie, because I didn't find any parts interesting until probably the last 15 minutes. The end goes on forever, so I don't know exactly how long it was. But yeah, the acting between the four, I guess, college kids, I think they're graduating college at the beginning, is pretty bad. I don't really get any of the, outside of the one guy being an idiot, and kind of a shithead. The other ones I don't really get, like, what if they're supposed to be stereotypes or what even their personalities are supposed to be. Jordan Ladd's character just seems to be there, doesn't really do anything. Ryder Strong is apparently a coward, I guess. I do know in the first 10 minutes of this movie, there's a lot of references to things being gay. And, just felt a little bit, it took me back to a place in time when that kind of language was like, oh yeah, we did say that a lot. Probably wasn't any good. But yeah, it has an interesting, sort of mystery to it, until I realized exactly how everybody was being infected. And then I was like, oh, that's pretty dumb. They kind of telegraphed that really early. But yeah, there wasn't much in terms of really, at least for me, scares. I basically knew what was going on without really, like, I basically did the turn your brain off thing that Dan said and was still able to follow the movie. The only thing that seemed really strange was the swerve that he does at the end with the store owner and the gun, which still seems completely unwarranted, but I guess was supposed to be hilarious. But yeah, it was just kind of boring. Not much going on. Only a couple of good deaths in it, and that's about it. I just wish there was a little more out of it because it's a neat idea. But Eli Roth just didn't seem to nail bringing the idea of this movie to screen.
As for me, I've seen this a few times. Last time I saw it was around this time last year. And this movie is a piece of shit. But at the same time, this movie is fantastic. This is like, despite my best intentions, I can't help but enjoy the shit out of this awful, awful movie. It's a piece of shit. It really is, and it's a piece of shit from 2002. It feels every bit like that. In the first 10 minutes, not only do they drop the N word, they drop the R word, and they say gay, but you really feel like they wanted to say the F word.
Yeah.
The one guy says that, right? Bert says it.
He says gay.
Oh,
He says the squirrels are gay.
Oh, okay. I thought he called them the F word.
No, I was surprised.
Yeah. As we've joked on this podcast, they were saying gay with a hard R.
Yeah.
Sure.
He says that's why he's going to shoot the squirrels, which, unpack that if you will. But no, this movie is nonsense. I love all the nonsense in it. The stupid the deputy party man, love him.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Oh, really?
Love him. Because it's so stupid. It has no place in this film.
It sure is stupid. I was surprised that when I watched this, Party Cop gets his own theme music.
Man, Eli Roth this is like his first feature film, and this movie is the reason why he shouldn't be allowed to make a movie. Because it's all awful. The best things in the film he rips completely off from other movies. He pulls an entire shot from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the ass shot of walking. The ending is essentially Night of the Living Dead.
Yep. Yeah, shot for shot at the end, pretty much.
And but Party Man, we're gonna have so many parties. Party Man, we're gonna do it. Love it.
I did laugh with that cop when Ryder Strong runs into him and he goes over the radio when the radio comes over and he goes, "Oh, sorry, sir, I'm just out looking for the underage drinkers."
Oh yeah, that dude was getting that underage girl drunk. Dennis, fantastic conclusion to that storyline where he just does karate in slow motion for no reason. Love it.
I gotta say, I am taken aback here. I for sure thought we are going to rip this to shreds. No one's gonna like it.
Oh no, we can rip this to shreds. I still love this movie.
I am
despite all acknowledgement that this is a garbage film, I can't help but enjoy it. It's awful. It's gross. I hate it, but I also love it. I don't know why. It's just stupid as hell, really. And Mark, you mentioned that they are maybe graduating. It's the middle of fall. They make no bones about it's fall, but they mentioned finals finally being done. That doesn't add up. They're also going swimming in the fall. That doesn't add up.
Yeah. Although I will say the movie starts out with some phenomenal advice from Marcy saying, "Don't go to college. It's a scam."
That's true.
Yeah. She was 100% right.
Eli Roth should know because his dad was a professor at Harvard. So that's why he gets to make movies.
That'll help.
Daddy rich.
I was going to say he's one of those guys. You could do it yourself. All you need is a $300,000 loan from your dad,
and live in your aunt's condo rent free.
Yep, anyone could do it.
Anyone. Yep.
It's your fault that you're not making movies. Poor person.
Now, one thing I have to mention. That is a lot of weed that Eli Roth's character brings in, correct?
Oh, yeah, it's an ungodly amount of weed.
Yeah. I also love the fact that he from the onset of his career decided he needed to be an Alfred Hitchcock type and put himself in his movies.
He's in it twice.
Yeah, he's in it twice.
Yeah. I think he shows up in every movie he's in. Or every movie he directs.
Yeah.
Was this before M. Night Shyamalan?
No. M. Night Shyamalan was Signs was like 99 or 2000.
So
and
he predates. And Sixth Sense was before that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What did I say? Signs.
Yeah.
I meant Sixth Sense. I think Signs might have been this year too, 2002. But yeah, just love when guys are so full of themselves where they're like, I'm just gonna put myself in this movie. I mean, Tarantino did it too.
Right. Yeah. It is pretty funny, the hubris. You know, this movie's missing me.
At
I
least
need to be in this.
maybe I missed it because I zoned out a little bit, but at least he didn't do the Tarantino. This movie, you know what this movie is missing? Me with a funny accent.
He does a funny accent.
He does.
Yeah, he does like a surfer bro thing.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't try to be Australian for no reason.
I can forgive
Grim
for it.
as
But
his skateboarder Grim character.
Yeah, he was in the X Games, he said.
Yeah.
But I wrote down, I don't know what's worse, his directing or his acting.
Porque no los dos.
That's true.
This movie looks good though.
Yeah.
It's well shot. I'll give it that.
And this movie has some pretty decent body horror in it.
Yeah. I mean, the stupidity of the character to decide to shave her legs is one thing. Just
Sure.
why you have no reason to shave your legs at this moment. But it is kind of a cool scene.
Yeah, it is very. I remember seeing it in the theaters and definitely being grossed out by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The leg shaving scene, like after you do it once and your skin comes off, I don't know why you go back for a second pass. The razor.
It takes her a long time to give it up. Yeah. I think it takes her three tries. And then she's like, oh my God, I gotta stop. Yeah, you should have stopped the first time.
Right. And the one scene that sticks out, I think it might be one of the most popular scenes or more memorable scenes in the movie is Jordan Ladd's character, Karen, having her face chewed off by the dog.
Yeah.
That's a pretty notable scene. I thought it looked great. It's just basically her mouth is missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very effective.
Do either of the girls ever have a conversation with each other? I'm trying to think if this passes the Bechdel test. I don't think it does.
Ooh.
I don't think they're ever alone together.
Not alone, but she does talk to her. Marcy talks to Karen when they isolate Karen in the shack.
Okay.
She tells her, Karen, none of us want to get what you have.
Okay.
So it's a short conversation.
Just makes it.
Yeah, barely. Because as soon as they get to the cabin, Marcy and Jeff go right to Bone Town.
Yep.
Immediately. There's not even a break. And then Karen and Paul go out to the dock to go swimming.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the last. And then Karen gets infected pretty much a scene or two afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she goes in.
I think she drinks the water.
Yeah. Because the guy's not in the water yet.
Yeah.
The guy's not in the lake yet.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. And if you're gonna have one of the girls in your horror movie around this time be naked a bunch, why not Serena Vincent from Not Another Teen Movie?
Sure.
Yeah.
Listen, I had a huge crush on her when I saw her the first time. She was, again, I was 14 years old. Perfectly. This is exactly what Eli Roth wants. So, yeah, perfect casting. I was like, this actress is very good looking.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen her again.
Yeah. Besides Not Another Teen Movie, I don't know what else she would have been in. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Quick question for you guys.
Sure.
How do you think this group would have handled COVID?
I think what's his name? Joey Kearns' character would have survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have isolated, right? He's like, I don't want to stay near you.
He knows the social distance.
Yeah. Yep. And James DeBolo's character would have probably tried to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
He would definitely shoot someone.
Well, Bert would have been there on January 6th. Who's full of it.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like the only person who would have done well is the old man Cadwell, the store clerk.
Oh yeah, that was a jarring moment. We mentioned it already. Just the drop in the N-word.
Yes, and for a joke that really doesn't need to be in the movie.
White people were just too comfortable in 2002, man.
Yeah, it was a post 9/11 world.
Just too comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I could have my character say anything.
That's true. I mean, Eminem was at the height of his popularity at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh well, he can do things, so can I. I just think I get what Eli Roth was going for with that joke. It was the old bait and switch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The old man drops the N-word, and it turns out he's best friends with a group of black kids.
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be in the movie whatsoever. It adds nothing.
Right.
It just completes the joke.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's supposed, that is not really funny.
I think it's more impactful if you don't have that scene at the end. Like, oh man, he's such a nice old man. He seems very helpful and just very kind. And then boom, drops a hard N word, right? Like, oh, okay, we're in a backwoods country here where they don't take kindly to certain people.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you the lay of the land. Not like, oh, yeah, he's racist. Oh no, actually, he's best friends with these kids.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they allow him to drop the N-word to them.
I guess he's allowed. I don't know.
He's got the card.
He's got the card. He's invited to the barbecue.
The cookout.
The cookout, yes. He's invited to the cookout. Yeah, I don't know. Just a weird thing to put in there. And I think this movie is basically whatever Eli Roth thought was funny. He was like, I'm going to put in my movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, Cabin Fever from 2002 is directed by Eli Roth, who also directed Hostel, Hostel Part 2, Knock Knock, The Green Inferno, Death Wish, and The House with the Clock in Its Walls. Stars.
One of these things is not like the other.
Right? Stars Jordan Ladd, Ryder Strong, James DeBello, Serena Vincent, Joey Kern, Ari Verveen, and Robert Harris. IMDb score of 5.6, Rotten Tomato score of 62%. This is certified fresh. Or it's just fresh, not certified fresh. Budget, $1.5 million. Box office, $30.5 million. And that is why Eli Roth got to make Hostel.
Check
A ton of money. Yep. Checks all the boxes. 1.5 budget, 30.5 box office.
I think I saw this movie opening night in the cinema.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I feel like the first time I saw this might have been on Sci-Fi Channel.
That's how I watched it earlier on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Like today for this podcast?
I did, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Oh, yeah. I bought it for $2.99 on Amazon because it was rentable for $1.99.
Oh, you just went and bought it?
Yeah, it was like, well, I could rent it or buy it. $2.99.
Would you say, is this your League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I wouldn't say I've seen this almost 10 times.
Okay.
I might have seen this like 4. This might be my 4th time viewing it.
But now the opportunity's there, Ant.
Yeah, you know what? The only place to go is up. Do you guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, a couple of quick announcements. Just real quick, please go follow a couple friends of the podcast. We have the Top 10 with Tia. That is hosted by our good friend Tia and Brittany. Tia has been on this podcast a few times. She is awesome, so we highly recommend you go check them out. If you go to geekvibesnation.com, just search the Top 10 with Tia. It'll pop right up. And also, our very own Mark Myers has a podcast with our friends Tom and Jen, where they discuss gaming news, and it's called the Game Vault Podcast. Like I said, they talk about game news, games they're playing, things to look forward to, and they also talk about old school games that they play for that episode currently and during the week. And they also stream on Twitch at Game Vault Pod. So please go check them out on Twitch. They are a lot of fun. And yeah, that's it. And I don't know if we want to do just like a quick shout out for Extra Life. Extra Life is coming up in November. It's a charity stream that we do to raise money for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. I know we're going to have some more information as we get closer to that, right, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, we can give the basics now. November 11th is day 1 of our charity stream, as we're going to split it up over 2 days. Just because as we're getting older in family and life and stuff like that, doing a full 24 just isn't feasible anymore. So we'll be doing one 12-hour stream on the 11th and a second one on the 18th, the next Saturday. The only main difference is that, one will be the group of us all together in one room doing the traditional thing, playing multiplayer games and stuff like that together. And the second thing will be more virtual. We'll have either, myself host it the most of the time, or I'll be handing off back and forth with Tom. And either way, we'll be doing probably a lot more maybe single player focused or 2-player game focused for that stream than the group multiplayers that we'll be doing on the 11th. But Yeah, so, and you can donate by going to tinyurl.com/GVP, as in Game Vault Pod, Extra Life, all one word. So we hope to see you there. We're almost at $200 at this point. So we're eking close to the $750 goal that I set for this year.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
I'm Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right, whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked her ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. A From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. And now it's time to get in plot for Cabin Fever. Once again, we'll be reading through the synopsis on IMDb. We open on a man. Ari Verveen is walking in the woods and comes upon a dog that he was to be sleeping. After poking it a few times, pulls the dog up and notices the dog's flesh is rotted, spurting blood on him in the process. Meanwhile, five college friends, Jeff, Marcy, Paul, Karen, and Bert, are driving in a van through rural Alabama. On the way to the woods, they have rented a cabin in the woods. Now, this is not a particularly good synopsis written, at least from the grammatical standpoint.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize this was Alabama.
But, they never really made it obvious, did they?
No, I guess it really doesn't matter. Along the way, they stop at a local convenience store for food, where a young boy named Dennis outside the store bites Paul in the hand. Locals standing nearby look at the outsiders in their town with suspicion and scorn.
This is like the second straight movie where people in the group that were meeting do things that I don't think I would ever do, in terms of, in the last movie, just, having those full-blown conversations with the Captain Spaulding or whatever his name was, and just interacting in that way instead of just seeing the shit and getting out of there. And then this Ryder Strong just sits next to this weird kid on a bench and tries to have a conversation with him. And I'm like, at least trying to make it realistic, some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this whole movie is a lot of things of like things you shouldn't do, right? It's a whole lot of bad decisions being made at this film.
Yeah. One of the problems with the movie is none of the main cast is very likable.
Yeah. There's not much to like about any of them, even Ryder Strong.
Yeah. And the women are severely underwritten. So you don't know what to think about them.
Yeah, not to skip ahead to a thing way later. He literally, fucks the other girl while his girlfriend is like dying in a shed.
Yeah, they have that cut when Marcy and Paul are getting it on, and just like a hard cut to Karen rotting on a futon.
Yes. Although in his defense, she's severely friend zoned him.
Yes, and if you're about to die, go for it, dude. At this point, fuck it. Literally,
especially with Serena Vincent.
Yeah. I can't blame Ryder Strong for that.
Yeah, but yeah, they are underwritten because all Marcy does is make chili and fuck. She makes chili twice.
I didn't clock that.
Yeah,
I didn't even clock that she makes it once.
Yeah,
she makes it twice.
It's all she knows how to make.
Right. Her world famous chili. Serena Vincent's world famous chili.
They just mention it a couple times. I was like, that's weird. It's weird that it comes up twice.
I wish one of the other characters would have called her out on it. God damn it, Marcy, with your fucking chili. No one wants it. Stop making it.
Yeah, they mention it once. The writer, when what's her name goes to bed, Jordan Ladd goes to bed. He tells her that she made chili. She's like, I'm not hungry. And then later, when they're all starting to freak out about everything being contaminated, nobody wants to eat anything but she made chili.
They got a flesh-eating virus to avoid eating her chili.
Yeah.
Sometimes men get a flesh-eating virus to avoid going to therapy.
That's right. When they arrive at the cabin, Jeff and Marcy immediately retire to the bedroom, and then they fuck. Paul and Karen go for a swim in the lake, while Bert goes hunting for squirrels in the woods. He accidentally shoots the man who discovered the rotting dog in the beginning of the film while hunting, who he mistook for a squirrel. By this time, the man's face has become badly rotted. Scared, Bert shoots at him again in order to repel him and runs back to the cabin. That evening, the 5 kids build a bonfire and share ghost stories with each other. They soon encounter a local college kid named Grim, played by Eli Roth, who approached them with his dog, Dr. Mambo. Though he acts a little eccentric, they allow him to join, and when he offers them marijuana. However, once it starts raining, he leaves to take care of his camping equipment, and the group retreats into the house.
Yeah, in a better movie, the stories of Ryder Strong's telling comes back to be like a twist at the end.
Well, it kind of is. Because I was wondering the same thing, Mark. Like, why are they telling this story? But in the story that he's telling about the bowlers or the bowling alley employees, he says that they're all tied up and they're watching each other die. That's essentially what's happening in this movie, right? They're all watching each other slowly die.
My first thought was a little more complicated than actually connecting to what it happened. Was thinking that that the disease is not real and it's just Ryder Strong killing his friends because he was the guy that did the bowling alley thing.
That'd be interesting.
That would have been a good twist.
Yeah. They never found the killer. They no idea who committed the murders. And then for some reason he has a ball peen hammer. Like, hey Paul, why did you bring your ball peen hammer for? Must have, you'll see, or something like that. Just something very ominous. Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. Next thing you know, bashes Karen's head in because she won't put out.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
That would be weird.
That'd be a different movie.
Yeah,
pretty much different movie.
I would have Eli Roth.
Sure. Yeah. Later on that night, they hear knocking at the door and discover it's the diseased man that Bert shot before. Desperate for help, the hermit comes after the group. He tries to drive away in their car, but vomits blood all over the windscreen and the seats of the car. After the man exits the car, Paul sets the light to the infected man and he runs a flame back into the woods where he dies in the lake.
This scene has one of my favorite lines in it where they shoo the man off and he goes into their truck and Karen says, "Why is this guy fucking with us? Like, lady, he's trying to get to a hospital." He's not fucking with you.
Why are the keys in the truck?
That's a great question. A phenomenal question.
Why does he have access to the truck? He starts it up. It's not like he's just in there.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't hotwire the thing. It's just they don't even see him get into the car.
Yeah.
Right? They close the door on him. They start arguing. The car starts. Like, oh shit, he's in the car. Yeah, that's not. Well, they're an entire group of idiots. Really.
They are. Yeah.
So I can't say it's unreasonable, but yeah, not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking while I was watching this movie, it was like, it's interesting to watch a movie from 2002 where a guy with the physique of Ryder Strong could be a leading man in a movie.
Yeah.
Because like nowadays, everybody's just like perfect six packs.
Yeah. Yeah. Your everyman is now Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Just not even
really
handsome.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And Ryder Strong is just very much boyish in this film.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote down, I bet Ryder Strong thought this was going to be his kind of breakthrough into film.
Mm-hmm.
And it winds up never, going that way for him.
I think a lot of those teen stars make the mistake. I don't know who advises them, but I've seen a lot of especially those CW people, their first jump is into horror movies, right off the bat.
Well, especially in that time period.
Yeah. It's almost like a proving ground, Yeah. A lot of these guys a lot of these actors kind of cut their teeth on a low budget horror movie, like Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun.
Yeah, but especially for Ryder Strong and even somebody like Sophia Bush, who was in the video game thing with Frankie Muniz, I forget what that was called. And, when they're trying to break into movies, they, do the horror movie as it gets to separate themselves from their teen boppy characters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't usually work out much. Or they go the route of some of them and go into really cheesy, like, teen movies that are in the same wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But it was just fun to see someone like Ryder Strong try and fail at that. And then really didn't do much that I can think of after this. This was the last thing I remember him really being in.
He did a ton of TV after this. I'm looking at it now. He did Kim Possible, Veronica Mars,
that's right.
Bones. Those were the bigger
Yeah.
TV shows. And then he goes back to Boy Meets World or Girl Meets World now.
Mm-hmm. In the morning, a young Deputy Winston, shows up at the cabin and promises Paul he'll call a tow truck and talks about all the parties. The party man. Jeff and Bert walk off down the lake shore when they come to a woman's house to ask for a ride into town. They soon discover that the woman was related to the hermit they killed, so they leave quickly. She also talks about how all the pigs were getting infected. During this time, Karen drinks a glass of water from the lake contaminated by the infected man and begins to feel ill. She goes to bed to rest. Paul later discovers rotten boils on her thighs while he's fingering her. Karen is in quarantine at the tool shed outside. Fearing that they will soon all become infected with whatever is ailing Karen, as well as the man in the night before, the others begin to argue with one another what they should do about the situation.
I really feel like Bert has no idea how to de-escalate a situation at all.
No, absolutely. And it's weird because he kind of takes control of the situation. I thought that was interesting because he seems like from the get-go, he's the kind of character who doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
And then when shit hits the fan, he becomes the leader instead of someone. I thought Jeff would kind of take control, right? Where he's more calm and collected.
Yeah, but he's the smart one. He's like, I'm getting away from you fuckers.
Right. Yeah, he's
does out for himself.
Yeah.
Yes, he does the smart thing. But in terms of the stereotypical horror movie, you would think his character would be the guy who tries to lead them out of the situation when really Bert takes the reins.
And all Bert is just scared.
Yeah, very emotional, just acting on fear. But, he tries to get the truck going and he tries to get back to civilization. So at least he tries. Where Jeff's character, or Joey Kern's character, Jeff, he's gone. He has this weird power walk that he does. Anytime I watch the movie, I love it. And he's like, I don't want, just stay away from me. And he just power walks away with a 6-pack.
Yeah, he's out for himself, and then Ryder Strong, Paul is too indecisive.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Until the end.
Yeah, and he makes some stupid decisions as well throughout. But I think he thinks he's the voice of reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's trying to get everyone to cooperate with each other and try to keep everyone calm. When really he's not helping anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't do anything of really any importance until the very end.
Yeah.
Because even he gets to a house with people there and he can't even get an opportunity to use the phone because he's a spy on the guy's woman.
Right. That's right. Yeah, he's peeping through the window.
Mm-hmm. The next day, they discover Karen's condition is deteriorating fast. Bert also realizes that he himself is infected with the virus. So Bert drives off to find a doctor. When Paul and Marcy insist on helping Karen, Jeff runs off into the forest with the remaining beer, the only reliable drinking source. Marcy yells at him as he flees, upset that he has abandoned her. Meanwhile, Bert drives into the convenience store that the group visited earlier, pleading for a doctor. He shows increasing signs of infection. The redneck boy, Dennis, on the bench, then runs over and bites Bert again after he yells about pancakes, thereby infecting himself. And not before he shows off his sick karate moves.
Oh, man.
Pancakes?
I don't get it.
It's so fucking stupid. I love it.
It's something that can lift out of this movie so easily.
Yep.
But I think it's just Eli Roth thinking, this is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. He has no good. He doesn't make any good judgment calls.
No, it doesn't even serve any purpose to the movie.
Nope. It serves the purpose to piss off the rednecks, but And you
Sure.
can do that without Dennis. You do that without pancakes. You do that without the sick karate moves. But you know what? Then you don't have the sick karate moves.
Yeah, it was a choice. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. I approve of it.
Again, I am flabbergasted at your, and I'm not in a bad way, mind you. Like I'm always happy to hear when someone likes one of these movies. It's a lot. It's cool. I was not picking this movie to to be that movie.
Oh no, I enjoyed this movie a good deal. It's stupid as hell. The boy's father comes outside and rather than helping Bert, tries to kill him. Bert speeds off and the father grabs two of his buddies who arm themselves with rifles to go after Bert to kill him. Now alone in the cabin, Paul finds Marcy sitting despondently on her bed. He tries to reassure her, but she reiterates that they're all doomed to get sick to the point where all you want to do is grab that person next to you and have sex with them because you know you're going to be dead soon anyway. So then they fuck. And they begin to have wild sex, and Paul expresses the concern that they aren't using a condom, and then she says she's healthy, so they continue fucking. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah,
get it, Paul.
I made this comment to my wife while she was watching the movie with me, and I don't know why I said this. I probably shouldn't have. But during the scene where Marcy and Paul are having sex, I said she's really working it. Because it wasn't just, I don't even know if this is really worth saying, but in a movie sex scene, most of the time it's just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You could tell she was really putting the hip work into it.
She was throwing it back?
She was throwing it back. And for some reason I thought it was a good idea to tell my pregnant wife, oh, she's really working it.
And she's like, oh yeah, you like that?
I don't think she said anything, which might be worse.
It's just one of those times when you're just like, why am I so stupid? Why did I say something? Like, it would just been so much easier to not say a thing.
No, yeah.
But I did anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't even a malicious thing, obviously. You know what I mean? It's almost like I was talking to a male friend. Like, hey, check it out. For a moment, I flashed back to when I was 14-year-old Dan.
Yeah.
Just stupid shit.
After they finish having sex, Paul worries about whether Marcy has the disease or not, so he pours some Listerine on his dick. While washing her face, Marcy discovers some red marks on her back where Paul grabbed her in the heat of their sexual encounter. A little later, Paul tells Marcy he's going to bring back Jeff so they could walk back to civilization. Marcy urges him to stay, but Paul seems uncomfortable around her after sleeping with her and insists that he has to get out of the cabin. Now completely alone, Marcy has a bath and weeps. And the marks Paul made on her back are showing to be developing into gruesome wounds like Karen's. Paul heads over to the local reservoir, notices a body floating in the lake. He climbs down a ladder and moves the body with a stick. Sees that it is the infected hermit. The dock's ladder rots and gives way, causing Paul to fall into the infected water, ensuring that he is definitely infected by this point. What's the best case scenario of poking the body at this point?
Yeah, what do you gain from that? It's a dead body.
Yeah.
I think that when I said earlier, Paul made some very stupid decisions. This is the prime one.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, oh, thank God it's not the dead body of the infected guy. It's just some other dead body.
Right. I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Him discovering this body and kind of figuring out what's going on led to one of my favorite parts in the movie that we've seen, like, just stupidly, of him running around yelling, "It's the water! It's the water!" Just reminded me of The Happening. Where the trees.
Yeah. Gotta stay ahead of the wind.
At least with the water, that's plausible.
Right. Well, he's calling out to
Jeff.
To Jeff. He doesn't know where Jeff is, but he's trying to yell to him to let him know that not to drink the water.
Right. So real quick, the beginning of the movie, we see the dog is dead, and I guess the dog is patient zero.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the dog get it from? Do they explain it?
When he goes to clean himself up after he gets bit by Dennis, I think in the back there's some rotting stuff, and there's also some dogs there. But otherwise, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if maybe they said something. I know the one woman, when Jeff and Bert are looking for help, they come across the one woman who says all the pigs are infected.
Yeah.
Oh, is this an animal-based disease? And somehow the dog got it?
Yeah.
I guess they don't really go too far into what caused the virus.
No, I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Okay. Yeah, just I thought maybe I missed it.
Yeah. Back at the cabin, Marcy is shown shaving her legs in the bathtub and notices they're beginning to deteriorate as the skin begins gorily peeling off. She runs outside upset and is attacked by a now infected Dr. Mambo, which like gruesomely because like her like foot is like randomly somewhere.
Yeah, that dog goes to town, man.
Yeah. Paul returns to find Marcy's body ripped to pieces and Dr. Mambo eating a motionless Karen's face. Dog attempts to attack him too. However, Paul kills him with Bert's rifle. Now Paul goes to check on Karen, whose skin has now almost fully rotted off. She was barely alive. To end her suffering, he clubs and impales her with a shovel and then runs for help.
I'm so happy that Paul puts Karen out of her misery just in the quickest way possible by bashing her head in with a shovel and not shooting her with the gun he just used.
Yeah.
Yeah, which led to, it could have been the twist that he's been a serial killer.
Sure. Or he was just pissed that she friend-zoned him.
Yeah. Just then, Bert struggles back to the cabin with the rednecks in pursuit. When Bert's pursuers open the door, Bert tries to shoot one of the men, but is killed by a shotgun rounds. Paul comes and successfully kills the store owner and his friends. After fleeing the cabin, Paul decides to look for Jeff. Checks a cave, thinking Jeff is inside, but only finds Grimm's dead body. Paul then runs back to Bert's pursuer's car and drives into town. Along the way, he slams head-on into a deer, damaging the windshield of the car. Continues on foot until he sees a roadside party thrown by local teens with Winston in attendance. Winston asks Paul about the tow truck, just as police officer gets on the radio warning Winston about Paul and his group whom are infected with a strange disease and they're to be shot on sight. After all the party attendees leave, Paul knocks Winston out with a stick. Paul's picked up by a passing trucker and brought to the hospital.
My laugh out loud moment was this scene when the truck pulls away and Paul's laying on the ground, and then the guy in the wheelchair rolls up, sees Paul, turns around, and wheels back towards the hospital.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, and it did make me laugh out loud.
The sheriff and doctors interrogate him while he's lying in a hospital bed, trying to discover the source of the infection, but Paul is slightly dazed and unable to answer all their questions. When he's left alone, Paul pulls up his hospital gown to reveal the telltale marks of the disease on his belly. Doctors determine they are not equipped to handle the situation and that he should be transported to a large, nearby regional hospital. His driver turns out to be Winston. Paul tries to warn him about the water in the reservoir, but he can't speak well and only says water. Winston says he'll take him to get water. Next morning, Jeff comes out of the woods where he has been hiding, makes his way back to the cabin. As he looks around horrified that his friends are dead, he is suddenly shot to death by the redneck police. The murderous sheriff and his men take Jeff's dead body and pile it on top of the others, which are burned into a fire pit.
Real quick, when they shoot Jeff, do they say there's another one for the fire?
They do not.
Okay.
I was expecting that, yeah.
Me too. I couldn't remember, but I mean, again, since it's ripped straight from Night of the Living Dead, you expect it.
Mm-hmm. They also mention, I think it's Winston says there might be one in the basement too.
That's from Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I was trying to who would be in the basement? They have
nobody.
Yeah.
Marcy was torn to shreds. Karen is in the shed.
Mm-hmm.
Bert had his head blown off in the doorway.
Yep.
Jeff they just killed, and Paul is somewhere else.
Yeah. Yep. And then the Grimm was in the cave, and then the homeless guy was in the water.
The ravine.
Yep. And while unconscious, Paul is dumped into a stream by Winston and left to die. Paul's body infects the water in the stream. Further down are two kids collecting water for their lemonade stand. They sell some lemonade to the sheriff, his deputies, and more locals at the store. And a natural spring water truck leaves the store with bottles of infected water in the truck. And that is the end of Cabin Fever. A pile of garbage, but I love it.
Real quick, why didn't they transfer Paul to another hospital?
I think the sheriff was just like, "We'll take care of it,"
and just didn't care.
Him. Yeah. I'm just like, we're not. Yeah, I'm not putting the man hours on this.
Yeah, too much paperwork.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly what it is. Yeah, maybe just they don't want to handle it. They don't care. Because I just kept thinking, what do you have to lose by driving this guy to another hospital? I don't know, but either way, it doesn't matter. I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, besides that is our plot for Cabin Fever. We got one more segment coming up, but before we get into that, we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads to pay those bills, and we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time to talk about our last segment. So we're going to do something a little bit more freeform this week. And as this was an idea by Dan, that we really want to talk about our favorite horror movie moments. And Dan, what was kind of the introduction? Why did you decide to as this for a third segment?
I thought that, at the top of the episode, Mark was saying how we really enjoy horror movies, and this is something that we've all kind of bonded over in our younger years, especially Anthony and I, and how Mark has kind of not learned, but has started to appreciate it more, as he said. And I thought it would be a good idea for us to kind of, maybe the listeners could get to know us a little bit more. Just like a little insight into why we enjoy the genre so much. And this is a good peek behind the curtain, as we say in the biz, as they say.
Okay. So what's one on your list?
So this is not in any specific order. Like, this isn't my number one all time. It's just, these are the ones that pop to my head. So one of them is the bear scene from Annihilation.
Okay.
Yeah. And we could talk about it a little bit here, or if you want to just wait till we kind of go down our lists, however you guys want to do it.
Sure. Why don't you tell us what you have on your list? How about that?
Sure. So the bear scene from Annihilation. This isn't scary, but it's technically a horror film, and it's been something I've loved ever since I was a kid. The reveal of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Then I have Frank's return in Hellraiser, and I'll go into that a little bit more later if people might not know that one. And my fourth one, I was I'm on the fence about, and I have two movies, and I'm having a hard time picking. But I think I have to go with the movie that really helped shape my love for the horror genre, and it's got to be The Thing, where the dog splits open and it's revealed that it's not a dog. I love that scene. The practical effects are amazing, and so those would be my four.
Okay, yeah, it's got some good ones. That Annihilation scene, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good scene.
Oof, very, very jarring. I was not expecting what happened to happen in that scene.
Yeah, it's a good one. Mark, what about you? What's on your list?
So, a little all over the place, kind of like Dan here, but I'll start off with one that is not, so much a kill or a jump scare or anything. But one of my favorite moments was the first time you hear the Silver Shamrock song in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. It gets stuck in your head, and it was a pretty good way to sort of make fun of what Halloween was becoming at that point in America, and so that's a moment I always look back to. Obviously, one of my favorite kills of all time, and I've mentioned it multiple times on this podcast, is the liquid nitrogen kill in Jason X, where he puts the girl's head in the liquid nitrogen and pulls it out and then just slams it on the table. And just the idea of that and the special effects on it were really good for an otherwise shitty movie. That was really good. So Dan took one of mine from The Thing. Obviously, that dog scene is iconic and one of the things I love about it. So I'll go back to one of the scenes I probably saw when I was way too young, and it took me until I saw it later to realize that it wasn't as scary. And that's the Johnny Depp bed scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, with all the blood gushing out of it. Just an iconic thing from that movie that sticks with you if you've ever seen it, and especially when you've seen it way too young. And I maybe this is a dumb one, and maybe it's just something that comes. It's just my sensibilities a little bit, but the whole reveal and interaction of the killers at the end of Scream is a pretty good reveal and well done moment between Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich. In, sort of just showing how psychotic those two characters were, and actually turning what was a parody of a scary movie into, an actual nice, scary moment in there. And it was one of the first times, that they got me in terms of not seeing something coming, the second killer in particular. So, those are my 4, little basic, not too many deep cuts there. But yeah, that's the ones that stick out to me.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I'm pretty basic here too. I was going through our old episodes trying to pick them, but I went tried and true. First on here, again, not in any particular order, is the baseball bat scene in The Shining. I think it's an incredible piece of acting from Jack Nicholson in that, as well as Shelley Duvall. I think she's underrated in that entire movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And that baseball bat scene is just the monologue that he has, basically. Really, it's a conversation. But yeah, fantastic. Next one I have is Nightmare on Elm Street, Tina's death. Her getting pulled up all over the walls and on the ceiling. It speaks for itself. I have Bob getting nailed to the door with the kitchen knife in Halloween. Pretty iconic scene. It was probably one of the best kills in that movie. And then speaking of kills, I just have tried and true shower scene in Psycho, because probably the best kill in all of horror, really.
Yeah. Subverted expectations.
Yeah. And yeah, that's my list. I mean, I was going through, like, we've done some pretty good movies. I mean, I probably could have figured out something from Evil Dead, Ernest Scared Stupid, Society, the shunting scene from Society.
Man, talk about some awesome practical effects.
Yeah,
that scene it's good.
Yeah, the entire third act of Society.
Yeah, the hooker explosion scene in Frankenhooker.
Yeah, that's just silly. I like it.
Yeah. What else? I'm going back further. Going back to 2020.
The head trying to give oral sex to Barbara Crampton in Reanimator.
The head.
Yeah.
That's a good scene. That's a very good scene. That also has Reanimator has one of my favorite horror lines when Danny and Barbara Crampton's character find the dead cat, and they tell Jeffrey Combs, like, "Oh, why didn't you leave a note?" He's like, "Oh, I was busy." And what would a note have said? "Cat dead, details later." I love that delivery.
Yeah. We've done some memorable horror movies over the years.
I was also torn. So that one of the other movies I was torn between The Thing and this movie was the ending of Hereditary, where Toni Collette is sawing her head off with a piano wire.
Mm-hmm.
I have a thing for anything neck related. I don't like when people go near my neck, or just anything, a neck getting cut open creeps me out. So seeing her slowly sawing her own head off, and then it getting quicker and quicker and quicker, that is the first. I remember the first time I saw that movie, I was literally on the edge of the couch, just what the fuck is going on here? It's such a good scene, but yeah, I think the Thing kind of just it edges it out, because Ant and I and Mark too, we all have a thing for the practical effects in horror movies.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter and that team just did such an unbelievable job with the different uses of how the Thing could be interpreted and shown. Really fantastic stuff. Unfortunately they tried to replicate in 2011 and fell flat on their face doing with the I guess it'd be a prequel, right?
I think so. Yeah.
It's What Happens to the Norwegian Team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, and for the listeners at home, I think this segment really highlighted what I wanted to highlight between us, where Anthony has more of the classic horror movies, right, with the Psycho, Halloween, and all of those things that really set up what horror is today. And Mark going for the more schlocky kills with Jason X, and just a good grab bag of horror in this list rundown of ours.
Yeah, definitely. That's what horror brings together. All types of different parts.
Yeah.
Histories. Stuff like
that. I think that's what is beautiful about it. It's, you have, again, you can have a movie like Jason X, which is the worst Friday the 13th movie in that entire series, but people will remember that kill, right? The liquid nitrogen kill. We talked about actors cutting their teeth on horror movies, and Mark has Johnny Depp in his first role, and that fountain, the blood geyser. It's just that's what's so beautiful about it. Like, you don't really get that in other genres necessarily.
Yep. All right. Yeah, thanks for bringing that subject to the table there, Dan. It's a good one.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap us up this week, and for October. By the next time we reconvene, it'll be November. It'll be just a few weeks till Thanksgiving. So we'll try and figure out a movie to do for that. But maybe we'll just do something with Blood Rage again for the third year in a row. Thank you for listening for 31 Days of Horror. I know this was a little bit different this year, which we didn't have the first week, and then Dan wasn't on for the second week, but enjoyed it. And here's to October of 2024. We can do it again.
Yes.
But that's going to wrap us up. Check us out on all our socials, TickTamPod on Instagram, Twitter, Threads. They Called Us a Movie on TikTok. You want to hit us up on our Gmail, suggest a movie to us. They Called Us a Movie, or TickTamPod@gmail.com is our Gmail account. And check us out on YouTube. Just look for They Called Us a Movie on there, and look at all the videos we've done so far. And then if you got a minute in your life, you want to, when it goes a 5-star review in your podcatcher of choice, that helps out a good deal. And yeah, that's about it. That we're gonna get out of here. The director of Cabin Fever is Eli Roth. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony DeVecchio telling Eli Roth, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TickTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.